Hi everyone, my name is Fatima from BSCS2B. So today I'll be going to discuss my project proposal entitled QR Code Attendance. So let's start. Chapter 1 Introduction. So the project context. It has been problematic for professor to take student attendance before or after class. So that is why some teachers do not take attendance and instead continue with their lesson. This is because taking attendance may be time consuming, but therefore the reason why we propose this concept, which is the QR code attendance system, is for professors to use this system to implement with their student to make their work easier while not wasting time checking attendance. Next is the objectives. So the objectives of our system is to help professors take attendance easily without consuming their schedule while teaching their students. So our objective also to implement QR code attendance for every student in every subject for an easy check of their attendance. Next is scope and limitation. So, Fatima Novella Panzo proposes the QR code attendance system. So, professor and students are both benefactors and user in this system. So, the project proposal specifies how the system help professor take attendance of their student without consuming their time with their schedule. So, specifically in this chapter 1, almost all or most of the professor today no longer attend before or after class because too wasteful of their study time. So the QR code system is what I thought to propose to facilitate checking the attendance a professor in class without consuming time they for teaching the lesson. So the objective of this system is to help professors check attendance without consuming their time in teaching lessons. So the students themselves will scan their QR code for attendance and I'll just get the result from the professors. And I propose this system and the user and those who can benefit it are the professor and the student. So that's for the chapter 1 and now we're going to move on chapter 2. Technical background. So, hardware requirements model iMac 24-inch MI 2021. Processor CPU Apple MI chip 8-core CPU with 4 performance cores and efficiency cores. Memory or RAM 8 gig and unified memory. Storage 256. SSD the graphics 7-core GPU 8-core GPU 16-core neural engine. Next is software requirements. So operating system, Mac OS, application program, Java, MySQL, and browser. Human resource and requirements. We have account function designation. So in account, we have 3 here, admin, teacher, student. So their function is in admin is the programmer who will create the system and the data analyst that will analyze information, and the designation of the admin is IT department. So the second is teacher. So the teacher, their function is the benefactor or the beneficiary of this system and their designation is the faculty. So the last is student. So the student, their function is the user. So the designation is the classroom. So, specifically in the chapter 2, which is technical background, the hardware requirements for this system are a physical scanner to scan each QR code of the students. Its software requirements are the database needed to store data and attendance of the student to redirect the processor. So the program is also required can connect to the QR code scanner, QR code, and the database. So the requirements here is for HR only and 2. a programmer to create a program for the system and database, and a data analyst to manage and analyze data and attendance of students. So that's for all for the chapter 2. So let's proceed to the last chapter 3, design and methodology. So the first is QR code attendance system context diagram. So in the context diagram, it only shows what the system contains. There is a database which sends and receives data and information from the system. So these are the students' detail, which are the student information that is put into system, and then the student display the one attendance released by the system when the student have scanned the scanner system, wherein he executes the commands for the system. So that's for the QR code attendance system in context diagram. So let's proceed to the second QR code attendance system in CPM chart. So next is the CPM chart. Here in the method show how to make the system. There are 3 possible methods shown here. So first is documentation, and after is coding and debugging, and lastly is finalization, that immediately I skip testing. So another method is documentation, coding, testing, and finalization. So the last method is documentation again and coding, and finalization immediately. And no more debugging and testing. So the third is entity relationship diagram. So entity relation diagram, or ERD, we could see that here it only shows that the relationship between each of the system that the student with the data contained in him, like his QR code, his name and section. He scanned the QR code scanner with the attendance info, the student's details, then the admin manages where the data analyst and the programmer, and the output, which is the attendance that the teacher will get. So that is the third entity relationship diagram. So let's proceed to the fourth, the functional decomposition diagram. So functional decomposition diagram, it only shows each function and purpose of the admin and the teacher, and the admin is the one who manages the system and checks the attendance recorded through the system. So, and the teacher will teach the student and attack the attendance result. So that is the fourth. So the last one is QR code attendance system data flow diagram. So in data flow diagram, here you can see the system and database that interact because they both store the student information. The admin was the user, the database to pass the attendance to the teacher. So the student will scan the QR code to output those student details. So that is the chapter 3. And before we end, I have here the example of my QR code attendance here, and the first picture here is the QR code of the student. This will be their attendance report and checking their attendance, and they will be taken by their professor. So the next picture is of the QR code scanner. We will see the students' QR codes will be scanned here to record their attendance. Both professor and student will benefit from this system, which will make their work easier. And that's all my entire project proposal. I hope you learn from my discussion, and thank you.